All right, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully this live stream is sounding and coming through better. I'm not sure what's up with the lag or what's going on with that. It seems like I have an excellent connection and my mic is now corrected. So hopefully that's doing better. Let me know in the comments if this is better. So I see ARF, you're back on, and hopefully this will be able to come through. So I have no idea what happened on that other one. That was so weird. But hey, Reidhassa, thank you so much. All right, I have no idea. That was really weird. So yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe it's better now. So sorry about that, guys. So anyways, let's go ahead and start this all over again. And now that you guys can hear me better, so we'll just go through the whole spiel and everything else again. So as we get some air, thank you so much. All right, cool. So welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brian McLogan, and this is week number 116 for weekly Q&A. And yeah, I'm very excited for you guys to join us tonight. And one thing I wanted to let you guys know is a little bit different. Rather than having some kind of like topics and everything else that I usually will kind of have on the live streams, I just really wanted to find something where I kind of chat with you guys and answer your questions and go through. So I might bring, obviously there'll be topics throughout the year that I'll keep on adding on. And I know that as we're coming into the end of the year, there's definitely going to be some additional ones that we have. Hey, Mo. But it's been really difficult this last couple weeks and to really kind of get myself dealing with the YouTube videos and the live streams. Mo with the Discord, I haven't even like been able on Discord at all. I've been so many other things I've been trying to do that it's just been like overwhelming. So I'm really just happy. I'm just gonna these last couple weeks, I'm just gonna try to do a little bit more where I'm just gonna basically take your guys' questions and say hi to you guys in the live streams, right? And so if you do want to ask me a question, now obviously you guys can always throw things into the chat, but if you want to get something more mathematical, then actually this one I didn't pin it on there, so let me go and try to do that. But there is a link. I do have an overlay on there, but I'll put a link in there as well. So therefore you guys can see I have a pinned comment. So there's two ways you guys can get help. You can ask me questions directly on the live stream at brianmclogan.com/Q&A. Or you can go to the Discord server where I don't answer the questions on the Discord server here on the live stream. That's just kind of a little bit too much work to kind of go between too many platforms. But there are tutors and many other students that are just like you that are there to answer your questions and help you out and to chat with, to go through them. So I just pinned that in the comment for you. And then also I do have a nice little overlay. If you have questions, you can just go here. brianmclogan.com/Q&A is the best place for you to get your questions answered. You know what? Maybe I'll just kind of post this up above from there. But then don't worry, because you can also go to Discord. So if you need any more help, you guys can go to those two. I'm just going to leave those up because that's kind of the two call to actions for you to get help with. And yeah, I don't have any other call to actions for either. So two ways for you guys to get help, either on Discord or in here. So, we're going to leave those up on there and then I'll take your questions as up. So a lot of times, guys, if you have the math questions like Joker, the best thing to be able to do is go ahead and send those to brianmclogan.com/Q&A. I try to answer as many questions on the live stream, but it's a lot easier to answer questions like this or just, comments to chat with you guys on that. However, Ryan, I can say that I've not taught linear algebra. Last time I took linear algebra was when I was in college, which was a very, very long time ago. And typically, if I don't feel comfortable teaching the content, or it's been a really long time with my explanations, I typically don't cover a lot of content on these live streams, just because, as you can imagine, being on a platform where you're, teaching in kind of real time and people are just watching you, which is kind of, I used to be I'm not nervous as I used to be. You obviously get very used to being on live streams, but I remember when the first couple times I did live streams, I'd be so nervous teaching, because it's a totally different animal, right? It's kind of like when you first become like a teacher and you're teaching in front of the classroom. It's very kind of overwhelming because everybody's like staring at you and expecting you to kind of keep things going. And the live stream is just, the exact same thing. But but yeah, if you know, I've at first those first couple years when I was doing live streams, I would just take any question, and then I was like, you know what, it's not really beneficial if I'm like not 100% confident on like how I'm going to explain something or how something is going to be helpful for the student. I just don't want to like give gibberish, something. So unfortunately, guys, all the questions that are sent in to bradmclogan.com/Q&A, I'm not always going to get to them. But that's why the Discord is, obviously there for you guys, because there's some really, really smart people, even smarter than me, right? It's totally, totally possible that people think they're smarter than me, because I am not the smartest or the best math person by far. And I've spent a lot of time teaching, but there's, a lot of the math, especially the higher up math, when you haven't gone through a lot of that, or there's people that are taking these classes, right? And they then help you out. And I think that's what's really helpful and really important for you guys. Yes, I think Linear, I think he has some playlist on that as well. That was actually one thing I was looking into catching up on his as well from on there. I would say the only thing I can say directly with the logarithms and logs, I have a couple videos. I'm going to do a couple videos that are going to be coming up on logarithms as well. But I think one of the big things you can probably think of is just make sure you really understand the definition of logarithm, or at least understand its relationship with exponential, because I think a lot of students get confused with logarithms. So as long as you can relate them and have that understanding with the exponential, then it'll be helpful throughout time. Hey, Brian, I'm in 8th grade taking Algebra 2, and I'm really struggling getting down the LCD of polynomials. Well, yeah, that's kind of a tricky subject. Yeah, it's a tough one, to be honest with you. And I mean, I think the easiest thing you can think about is there's two ways to get a common denominator, right? You can either just multiply your two denominators and you will get something common, always, right? Or you can find what they have in common. Now, the finding what they have in common is a lot more difficult with polynomials than it is with numbers. So for instance, if when you have like fractions, we have to get the common denominator, right? And, I think it's a lot of times a lot easier to find the factors of them. So if you want to go and submit a question, I'm more than happy to go ahead and take a look at an example from there. But what I would recommend doing is, what was I looking at? Making sure that you always have your polynomials in factored form. That's going to be the easiest way to see if they have anything in common. If they don't have anything in common, then just multiply them. And here we go. No, I wish I did. That was one of the things I wished I wanted to like step away from the classroom so I could get, more time to practice with the math. And I've just been like overwhelmed trying to do so many other different things with the YouTube channel and outside the YouTube channel. So I haven't really had the time to relax and explore more math. I literally have, you guys can't see like that shelf right there. I have 2 of them just like that full of math books. So stuff, math that I've taught and math that I haven't taught, and I actually have more books over here. So I have a ton of work to get ahead of me. So I got to get going on it. You can think of that as a slope at a certain point in time. Yes. Is it coming to any tips during the test? Yeah, I think pacing is very important. If you don't spend so much time on a problem, if you don't know how to do it, skip it, move on to another problem. You can always come back to those problems, right? Within like the section, I guess. And I think it's really important to also be looking at the answers. First of ed, like kind of look ahead. The SAT and ACT, those are very specifically picked questions. So you got to kind of don't always just jump to those, the first answer you think like, oh, that has to make sense. Like make sure you read the question correctly, fully, right, all the way through, and look at the answer choices and try to make those connections. And then also make sure you go back and check your work. I think sometimes a lot of students will, as when they feel like when they're on a timed test, they rush through things. So make sure you're just going through your pace, doing the problems you feel the most confident on. And then when the problems are those more little difficult or, that you kind of struggle, like make sure you just give it a second look and make sure that you did everything correctly. Well, if you have a question, go ahead and submit it to bradmclogan.com/Q&A, because I'm not sure exactly what you are wanting to on that. Well, hey, just say, well, I'm so happy to be able to help you out, EVVVZ. And Yona, thank you. Well, you are back. I second guess myself on math rounds. How do I stop that? Just stop it, I guess. That's kind of a, I mean, I think through time it just gets a little bit easier. But yeah, I mean, I tell students all the time, like, you just got to go with your gut. You know, that was in a video that I did the other day. Like, you know, if you when it comes down to a test, you know, you don't have time to be overthinking everything, like a time test mostly. And, you know, just go with your answer and just move on. You know, and if you got it wrong, you got it wrong. You know, you can always come back to it. Or, I mean, you can always learn from those kind of mistakes and everything else. But I think the main thing is you know, I think just being confident in what you're doing and your ability to make decisions and just move on from there and get better. Right. I mean, that's the whole idea, you know, with everything. I mean, you're going to get better. You're going to get improved. You keep on focusing on that, then I think that's going to be the most important thing I want you to do, is rather than trying to always, and I think sometimes maybe students will get caught in this trying to get perfection all the time, right? I have to get an A, I have to get 100%, I have to get a B, I can't get a C, I can't get a D, right? And it's like, no, do the best you can do, be confident in what you've learned, what you've studied for, and then move on. And if you didn't get what you did, then that's a learning experience and you can like work on to improve that. But don't overanalyze and don't overthink your grade, your life, all the things that are going to come from, you know, maybe not getting the answer correct or your grade or stuff like that. Well, you're very welcome, Yusef. Brian, are there any fields of math you are still studying personally? Nothing I'm studying personally right now, but I have a lot of math that I want to be spending my time working on. So hopefully I'll be able to get to that. Whereas on Path to Math. Well, awesome. So happy to help you out, Moz. So, Ramirez, I'd love to thank you for everything you helped me with, because, well, you're very welcome. 9 plus 10 is 19. Hopefully. I believe that calculus is going to be a prerequisite. At least when I took linear algebra, I had Calc 1, Calc 2. And I'm trying to remember if the calculus in linear algebra, which I do not recall because obviously it was like more than 10 years ago, that I took, actually more than 20 years. 20 years? No way. For it was crap. It was about 20 years ago. That's crazy. So yeah, almost about 20 years ago. So I took it. So I don't really remember any of the calculus in, but I do remember I took calculus before I took linear algebra. So I would assume that's probably in your best interest. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. That is that's part of the kind of the crazy in there. I'm doing, instead of doing 2 math challenges like I did last year, I'm doing 5 math challenges, and the answers have not been updating. So if you go back to the previous links, they should be updated. I'm trying to get everything updated and done and ready, but I apologize for that. I had this idea that I'm like, I'm going to add all these challenges. And so I added 3 more this year. And then unfortunately, in addition to 3 more, all the links that I did for last year had to be redone. So it's just been like so much more work to update all these challenges. So I do apologize for that. The answers do need to be updated, and I apologize. I got to go back through, and I'm trying to get the links in there, but I got to get the links. I got to get the answers. It's just been a whole mess. So I do apologize for that. I do have the videos, should be playing the next day. So therefore you can see if you got your answer correct. So I do apologize for that. I did want to get those in time, but you know, it's been tough to try to stay ahead of you guys for everything. No, I don't think it's worth trying to learn or immerse yourself in every part of math. I mean, you not everything you're going to need, you know, it's like trying to learn everything for in any subject. I mean, you're just, it's not worth, you got to know what you got to know and move on from there. Right. We don't, I mean, obviously when you are, going in different fields, we need experts in different, you know, parts in fields. But I think one of the harder parts that a lot of students is we have this, you know, perfection, as I kind of mentioned before, like this perfectionist ideology that we just have to be perfect in everything, and especially like in math. And I think we definitely need some people that are stronger in the math, and then other people, we want them to know certain aspects, and then hey, let's move on. Like, we need you to be able to apply that in different areas or in different content areas as well. Not if you don't. I appreciate you. Well, you're very welcome, William. Least favorite sub. Well, it definitely would have been biology. I hated biology so much like memorizing that I didn't like. Well, thank you, Adrian. Very hacked when dribble. On cardinal question, then I project a horizontal, which I haven't seen before, as a rare occurrence. Yes, there's not. We usually don't study a lot of horizontals, or horizontal. I project a horizontal parabola. Oh, no, it's not rare. It's just a lot of that's going to be a different conic section that we use for that. So yeah, it's not. It's just not really much. A lot of times when you're studying functions, we don't use the horizontal parabola because it's not a function. Nope, do not do any computer programming. Quite a bit. We use a lot of the, if you can be successful in pre-calculus, that gives you a really, really good, strong foundation for calculus. No, it's been a long time since I taught my calculus. So feel free to go onto the Discord though, and I'm sure there's definitely some calculus that can help you out. But I got to go back through my calculus curriculum for my explanations. Good to know. Yeah, I don't remember using much. I mean, obviously, I remember a lot of the linear programming, obviously a lot with matrices, but I don't remember a lot with calculus from there. And hey, Madrid. Awesome, Griffin. Wow. Jamaica. I'm not sure all that. Hi, Murray. I'm from Jamaica. I'm going to help you go to pass. So you got this. Best of luck. Well, thank you so much, Megs. Happy to have you on. Maybe, Selena, if you want to go to brianmclogan.com/Q&A, I will see what I can do. You are very welcome. You're rudimentary. All right, guys, I'm still going to be doing some math questions. I was just going to kind of wait till, probably get like 8 more minutes if you guys. So if you have any more math questions, again, put them into brianmclogan.com/Q&A rather than on the chat, because the chat sometimes gets a little crazy for me to really find the questions. And then also it's very difficult to type in the math equation. Like, at least there, you can type them into the Google form, so you can take a picture, upload it, which is preferred for me. So therefore I can take those Google forms and put them over here. So then we can all go ahead and take a look at them. Let me go and find, where is my live stream? I gotta find my notes for that. Oh, thank you, Larzell. I can't stay on the stream long, but I just want to show my support. I can't how many times you helped me with my son's 7th grade math. Well, you are very welcome. And hey, don't worry. I've looked at even my nephew, who's in, I think, like 6th grade math. And yeah, it can definitely be, some confusing, and a lot of the wording, especially if it's not something you've been doing, on a routine basis. I can definitely see, or, routine basis or something in a really long time, I can definitely see how it's tripping up. So thank you so much for the super chat, and I greatly appreciate your support. Man, so many linear algebra questions. I do have my old college linear algebra book. I think so. I don't think I threw it that away. Maybe I did. I know I have a linear algebra book. I don't know. I can't remember. It was my college algebra, or I might have been a nerd and bought one. I don't know. So this. I'm currently failing math right now for my 2nd semester in a row, and I tried so hard to understand the concept in my Algebra 2 class. I don't know what to do. I mean, you just got to get help. You just got to you got to find somewhere how to get help. Yeah, right? I mean, that's, a tutor, a teacher, something where you can sit. And I think you got to make I think you got to find the time where you are focused on doing it, right? And so, make that a priority. Like every single day, be doing something to help you with your grade. Make sure you're speaking with a teacher. You're failing. Like talk to your teacher. What is it you need to do for your grade to get up, right? You got to open up those communications. The worst thing you can do is just do nothing. So open up those lines of communication with your teacher and find the help you can do. But you gotta, it's very discouraging to journalists. Yeah. I mean, and the unfortunate thing is like, I know we're not always going to have the best circumstances, which are, with our classes and our teachers. So you got to find something, right, that's going to work for you. And everybody has a different way of doing this. So there's not one way that's like best. And we've all had classes where we struggled with the teacher or we struggled learning the material. So you got to find, either a study group or a tutor or something that are students in your class that you can work with, that can help you with that if you're not getting the help from your teacher from in there. And yeah, the tests and the quizzes, I mean, that's what it's about, right? I mean, that's majority of this, like that's the majority of the grade is going to be bulk. I mean, even when I was a teacher, that's where the majority of my grades were. So, it comes down to being able to perform on those. And I know sometimes they can be much trickier, and maybe not always highlight what exactly which can be extremely frustrating for on that. But I think what you got to do is you got to figure out where your gaps in knowledge are and put in the work. But the one thing I can tell you is it's not going to be fun. It's not going to be fun. It's not going to be easy. But if you're willing to accept the challenge and willing to say that, willing to believe in yourself that you can do it, then I know you can do it, because I've met so many students that have been in the exact same shoes that you've been, and they put in the work and they worked hard, and it was not fun. It was not easy. It was not like exciting, but they did it. And, seeing one and many students do the same thing, I know that you can do it as well. Even having no more knowledge than that about you, I know it's possible. So I wish you the best of luck, and keep me updated on that. Usually a couple. How much pre-calc is a review of algebra? Usually about three chapters I would usually do. But again, even if it was a review of algebra 2, we'd always expand upon that. So we'd go a little bit deeper from there. Yeah, I did a video on this with about how to get motivated for math. I mean, I think there's a couple things. I think you got to realize like why, sometimes I know it cannot be fulfilling, especially if you're not going into a math field. So, kind of look at why, maybe look at some more external things of like why it's important to, be successful for in the class or with your grade. And, what are kind of the big reasons why you are taking, why you're taking the class, or why you have to take the class, and why you need to know the information from there. I think that's sometimes it's that can always helpful when it's not something that feels like it's directly related. Yeah, as a instant gratification that you're going to get with something else, right? So you got to look above, that. And the reality is, not everything you're going to do is always going to be instant gratifying, right? And instantly fun. And that's just the truth. That's just real life. Like everything that you have to do is not always going to be great, fun, and interesting, and it's stuff like that. Like, so there's obviously always a lot of classes and everything else that are exciting and fun and you enjoy studying for. And then there's other ones that are just, it's a drag, and you just got to get through it. And so realize that it's okay not to be motivated to do your math or not to enjoy every aspect of what you're doing. But kind of focus on what your main goal is and why you're doing what you're doing. And sometimes that can get you through the tough times. Yeah, I have a ton of videos just doing trig functions, but I don't know what you mean just doing trig functions. If you mean like simplifying, verifying, solving, graphing, there's a lot of different ways you can do that. But yeah, I have a lot of videos for that. Thank you so much. Well, I think the easiest thing is you just got to ask the teacher. I mean, I think you just got to ask, yeah. I mean, I think one of the best things to counteract fear is just to face fear and, head on and just go for it. I mean, I think there's no better teacher than than experience of going, going through something you don't want to do or you're scared to do or that you've never done before and you don't know how it's going to be. And just do it, face it head on. Best advice I can do for anything on that, math related or not. I'm not really sure. Go ahead if you want to go and submit it to the to brianmclogan.com/Q&A. I can go and take a look at what maybe you're doing or what things, and I'll be happy to kind of take a look at it. And you are very welcome. Yes. Well, you're so very welcome, Abs. Whoa, calc 3 midterm. You got this, Zach. Tomorrow. Best of luck. I feel like I'm going to overthink it and mess up. Breathe. Do like 3 long, deep breaths. Close your eyes. Imagine yourself doing awesome, and you're going to do this. You got this. Essay tips, please. I mean, everybody loves SAT. I guess their SAT's coming up. Yeah, it's a spring. I don't know what you mean for studying it. Is doing a lot of practice problems. And then, and I just answered this earlier. But yeah, I mean, it's like do all the problems you know how to do first, and then go back through the problems that are more difficult. And take your time, pace yourself. Don't spend too much time on one problem, or don't rush through other problems. Make sure you go back and check your work and stuff like that. I am not. Did you ever have any regrets as to way you talk to a student? Yes, definitely. There's definitely some ways I approach things, maybe like in a joking manner, where I much should have been more serious. And then for sure, I always like to kind of be fun and energetic, but then and then there's definitely times that students got under my skin, and I wouldn't say I said anything bad, but definitely maybe some things I wish I would have reworded it from on there. Maybe that's a really nice way of saying that, but yeah, it's always tough. I think that what people don't understand about a teacher is especially when you're a student, right? You're dealing with seven, high school, right? You're dealing with like 7, and let's talk about high school because we have a lot of interactions between the teacher and the student compared to like a lot of college courses. But when you're a student, you're dealing with like maybe 8 like teachers, right? And then, but you got to think like the teacher, I mean, they're seeing like, 30 kids, let's just say in a class. And then, but you got to imagine like every kid has their own different personality, right? And you get to learn, those personalities, and you kind of know the students' limits and how to react and how to, interact with them and kind of like get the most out of them. But then on top of that, so that's just 30 different students in that class. And then you have 7 or 8 classes, not even that much, but like 130, roughly 140 classes. And then 140 students, and then every day something is different. So I remember there was a lot of times, I'd interact with a student, and then, the day you also got to be able to judge how the mannerisms are for the day, like how the student walks in or how they interact with different questions. And you can see if the student's having a good day, if having a bad day, right? If they're in a good mood, if they're in a bad mood, like it's just, there's so many of these different things that you take into account. And yeah. And then also, then you got to add in on what's going on in your life, right? If you're having a good day, a bad day. And yeah, it's actually, when I look at it, I'm like, man, how did I like balance, and take in all that information? It's crazy. But I did, and you kind of move on and you learn from it, right? When you say some things and you realize, students having a bad day and you feel like you were insensitive, you just apologize and you got to move on. You always got to keep those things. Or if you say something sarcastically and students interpret it sarcastically, then you got to accept, take ownership of it and move on. Well, you're very welcome. A lot of the same differences. I would say the college algebra is not going to go as many topics as the algebra 2, and it's going to go deeper into different of those functions. And a lot of the chapters are not exactly the same. They are very, very similar. But I would say algebra 2 is going to cover much more broad, much more content, whereas college algebra is going to go less content, but go deeper into it. You're very welcome, Mohammed. Practice watching videos. Awesome. Yep, I've just never had any experience with it. You got this, FBI. All right, let's go ahead and get into some math questions. So again, these are all math questions, guys, that were submitted to me on brianmclogan.com/Q&A. So if you do have any questions, feel free to go ahead and join them in on there. Whoa, holy crap. All right. Maybe this is a good way for you guys to submit your questions. Let's try to get onto this. I'm liking this. All right. This is maybe a little bit better. All right, let's see what I can answer for you guys. That was 30 minutes in, but now I got to get to my live streams. Let's see. Let's see if we got the right week. Yep, okay. Sorry, I'm trying to pull up new Algebra 2 live stream. Where is my live stream? Hold on, guys. I'm trying to find my live stream. There it is. Sorry. I'm like, that shouldn't be that far away. All right. Let's time this up because I got to go and write this week. 116. Okay, maybe not. Stop, come on. Sorry, I'm just trying to type this in now. My app wants to be so weird. Enter full screen. Okay. All right, cool. All right, let's go through your questions. So I'm actually going to flip over to this view. Aha. Cool. Yes, I have a ton of questions like that. Thank you so much. Well, hey, the math guy. Thank you so much for helping on. And I'm assuming you have a YouTube channel. Maybe you do. Hopefully you do. All right, let's see some of these questions. I don't think I deleted some of the questions from last week, so let's see what we got here. Oh yeah, these are definitely from I didn't get time to look at, which I never do. I always say I'm going to. Yeah, sorry about that. I remember I was tired last week. I got back from the Players Championship. I was watching, and I went with my dad, and it was a lot. Any limit. There's a discontinuity fx of the type of when x equals -4. I mean, this is a lot. I'll just kind of answer, I guess, some of these questions. The limits, I can go through that. Let's just answer some of these, I guess. All right. What the heck? It's weird. Okay. So let's go through some of these questions. There she is. All right. So it says use the graph and the fill in the blanks for following questions. If any limit does not exist, write does not exist. Okay. Cool. Now let's go ahead and let's just do a couple of these. I'll just do, let's see, I can do these general limits. So there's a discontinuity of fx. So this is the name of the function fx when x equals -4. So you can see -4, right? So you can see how, as we're going from here, it's like, kind of think of like when you're going through limits, what I like to do is kind of think of like a little person, right? Or like a roller coaster. And you're walking here from left to right. Now, notice here as they're walking along this little curve here, on the left here, to get to here, you have to jump, right? It's not connected, right? And it's not like a little open circle like you can step over, but you have to go from there. So this continuity is what we call a jump discontinuity. At 3, you can think of this asymptote here. So you can't jump here because as you're kind of walking in this case, right, as this little guy is walking up, you're going to keep on going all the way to this asymptote, right? So this is what we call an infinite discontinuity because you can't just jump over. You're going to keep on going closer and closer to this. And then at x equals 5, I think that's right over here. So you can see as you're walking over this, you don't really need to jump because it's the same function, right? They're connected. It's just a hole, right? So this can be a whole discontinuity. You can kind of just like step over. You don't actually have to jump from one discontinuity to the next. Okay, now let's go and talk about some of the limits here. So let's see, we have left and right hand, and then I'll do a general limit, and then I will do general limit, and I'll do left and right hand behavior. Okay, so when we have the left hand, so what the same is limit as x approaches -4 from the left, right? So this little negative at the end is going to be from the left. So another way this can be written, because it kind of looks a little bit different here, limit as x approaches 4 or -4 from the left. So it kind of looks like an exponent, but it's not really an exponent, it's just saying from the left. So let's go to -4, and as we're saying from the left, right, what value are we approaching? And you can see we're getting really, really close to the value of 2, and 2 is defined, but doesn't really matter. So that's we're approaching 2. However, from the right, so if this little guy is kind of come around from the right, we're not approaching 2, right? From the left, where it looks like we're approaching a -3. Now, this is undefined, but again, it doesn't matter. The question is, what are you approaching? So from the right, we're approaching 2. From the left, we're approaching -3. And now let's look at 5. So at 5, which is right here, you can see from the left and from the right, we're approaching the same value. So as long as we're approaching the same value from the left and from the right, then the general limit is going to exist. And this example is going to be a -2. Okay, so hopefully you can do that for the rest of them on that example. I don't know. It's been a long time since I taught pre-algebra, so I'm not sure if I remember what are the difficult parts of it, or what are the difficult or what are the easier parts for it. So I'm not sure. Well, of course, everything is easy once you have, but it's like it's not easy for maybe a first grader, right? I'm not saying you're in first grade, but we all learn it. We all learn at different points. But yeah, I don't don't remember some of the hiccups on there. So all right, it's been a while since I did shell method, so I'm not gonna be able to do that. Please go as an inverse trig about how to find them in tips. So Abby's saying how to go over inverse trig functions. How to find them. Okay, well, I mean, I'll do one. I'll do a quick little question on there. Okay, I'm not really sure what to do on this. Go over inverse trig functions, but the best thing I can try to do here is just try and do a little bit of an explanation, okay? And I'll just pick sine because, well, that's what I got. So if we look at sine, like here is the initial period. But remember, sine continues indefinitely, right? So remember, the inverse of a function, inverse of any function, is reflected about the y equals x line. So if you were to reflect this graph about the y equals x line, it is going to look, let's move this over. If you're going to reflect this about the y equals x line, it's going to look something like this. Actually, let me see. Yeah, like that, I think. Right? I think. I can't remember. It's always difficult to like visualize this, how it's going, but that's good. No. Crap, I think I did that wrong. If you think about this and you actually know what you can do, this is a great idea. So one thing you can do, technology is amazing. So rotating it, you can just flip it. Well, actually flipping it, yeah, no, that's not going to work. You'd have to flip it back in that case. Yeah, it's going to look like this. Crap. Sorry. Okay. Now, again, we noticed this is the problem, right? Yeah, that's right. And the problem with this is because this does not pass the vertical line test, right? Uh-oh. Ding, ding, ding. Issue. So then what do? So when I have like y equals sine of x, right? Now that is true for all x. However, when we look at the sine inverse, like that is not true for all x, right? We have to restrict that. So if this is going to be the sine inverse of x, this cannot be true for all x. So then what do? Well, we restrict it. Now, which values are we going to restrict it on? Well, what we're going to do is we want to restrict it around the nearest values between 0. And if you look at the unit circle, the point here from this tip to this bottom here, which is basically from here to here, just being reflected, is going to be from negative pi over 4 to pi over 4. So that's why we have the restrictions on the inverse function. And we do the same thing for cosine, which is between 0 and pi, and then for tangent, which is between, again, negative pi over 4 and pi over 4. So hopefully that was helpful. I'm not sure exactly what you needed on that, but that's at least an explanation. So anyways, the graph, again, correct me if I'm wrong, people, because it's always difficult and it's been a while for me to look at, but your graph for sine, if I remember, is going to look like that, right? So that's negative pi over 4. That's going to be a pi over 4. And that's going to negative 1, and that goes to a positive 1. There you go. Great question. Can you explain create word for real life applications? I know relations can actually be relevant to anything. Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, even when I'm like writing tests and stuff, when I used to like it's difficult for like to create those to create those applications. So I get a lot of like inspiration just looking at from different problems like for tests and booklets and stuff like that from on there. But it's to anything meaningful. Yeah, I mean, I'm not really good with the application from there. I'm much more of like a pure math behind, so it's difficult. It's very difficult for me as well. When you do live streams, I live stream every Sunday night at 9 p.m. All right. Let's go and see. Abby, that's your question. Good. Let's go on to the next one. I mean, I taught them I taught them in calculus, and it's been so long since I taught calculus that my explanation and doing the methods is not something I can cover like during this live stream. It's something I need to like refresh from on there. So that's what I meant from there. I'm like, yeah, I remember the shell method. I remember the disk method and the washer method. But as far as actually doing them and being up to date on them, that's just not something I've have for the live streams or be able to do on the live streams. 2 to 3. This two similar rights have a scale factor of 2 to 3. A large server has surface area 2. Find the surface area of the area. Okay. I think if I remembered it, I hate doing all these. I used to be able to like doing the questions in lesson real time. Like a lot of questions less in real time because there could I at least had time to like review or some on there. Like sometimes, like when students send in questions I have to like read, I have to like digest it, right? It's kind of weird doing it. It's kind of weird sometimes doing it on the on live stream. I like to sometimes at least get 10 minutes to look at. But maybe, we'll have some of these questions for you guys. I'm not going to be able to get to everybody's questions. So, I mean, I'll be able to hopefully get to some of you. Actually, maybe I should just turn these off. So, well, I still want you guys to submit your questions. If you have questions, submit them. I'll see how far I can get. You're right. I probably should. We'll see what I can do. I don't like doing a lot of math. I don't like doing a lot of application problems. So, application and word problems, I just don't really interest me a lot. Well, you're very welcome, Grant. Happy to help. No worries. Awesome. All right. Okay, so let's go through this. So two similar right circular cylinders have a scale factor of 2, 2, 3. The larger cylinder has a surface area of 252 pi square feet. The surface area of the smaller right circle. So we got to be able to find from there, right? So, so if we're going to go, so you can see there's a scale factor is going to be a like 2/3. When you do that to 0.66, no, we have a, I should be able to. So the scale factor from 2 to 3 is going to be, so my R is going to equal 1.5, right? So to go from 2 to 3, so my ratio is going to be R to 5. Now, since we're dealing with area, so the one thing that I remember teaching in geometry is the R squared, R cubed method. So whenever we're dealing with like lateral, like perimeter or length, we're going to deal with those scale factors. Whenever we're dealing with area, like surface area or lateral area, we're going to deal with R squared of the scale factor. And whenever we're dealing with volume, we're going to do R cubed. So R squared in this case is going to be 1.5 times 1.5, which is a 2.25. Okay, so therefore, if we have 252 pi square feet, then the ratio here, I have to go and see if that was the area. Yeah, that should be equal to on that, because 252. Let me do some math now. I got to be able to check. 5.2. This would be, yeah, okay. So then you should be able to do 252, and again, 2.25. And so what I'm getting is the surface area of the smallest cylinder is going to be 112 pi square feet. Square feet. There you go. So, oh, that's pi square feet. No, crap. Is that going to deal with it? Because it should be with pi. I didn't take a look. I didn't incorporate pi. Crap. I'd have to now go and think about this a little bit further on that, because the pi is going to different. That's going to change because I didn't see that pi from there. Because the pi would be different from on there. Crap. I'd have to go and spend time looking at this. The main thing is that's going to be your scale factor from there. Now, one thing you could do is use this as a decimal. So I could do 252 times pi, right? And then divide that by 2.25. And that's going to be 352 pi. In terms of pi, I'll have to go back and think. Now you got me question on this. I have to go. Now I'd have to go back and look on this. Find the surface area. So, anyways, you're going to want to be using that R squared, but I'll have to go and take a look at the pi square feet. Actually, I'm just gonna. Yeah, I'll come back and take a look at that. Let me see. Oh crap! Gotta get to some of my questions. Yes, I can go ahead and submit it into the question. I'm probably not going to be going on for too much longer. I'll try to get through on this side. Let me try to get this. Come on. All right, let's go into the next question that I can go ahead and get for you guys, and I'll come back to you, Cami, on that. Right, can you say not create word problems? Oh, there we go. Yeah, those are always so weird. Can you show me how to find the inverse of a thing on the unit circle? I mean, you basically just got to know the unit circle. So not sure what exactly you're referring to, Bristol, on this. Oh, come on. Okay, can you try to find the inverse of a thing on the unit circle? Well, I mean, let's go through one of them and then see what we can do from there. All right, so let's just go with this angle right here, which is, let's just go with 30 degrees, right? So this has a coordinate point of square root of 3 over 2, comma 1/2. Right? Now, when I say the cosine of 30 degrees, right, that's dealing with the x coordinate, which is going to be the square root of 3 over 2. So when I say like the cosine of what angle, sorry. So when I say the sine of what angle is equal to 1/2, well, then you say that theta is going to equal 30 degrees, right? So that's another way of saying that. Now, what's another way of writing this? Well, another way of writing this is if I just said, what is the sine inverse of 1/2? That's basically asking this equation. Okay, so that's all it's really asking. So when I say sine inverse of 1/2, I'm basically just saying the sine of what angle is equal to 1/2. Or we could write something like this, right? So I could say the cosine inverse of what angle is square root of 3 over 2, right? And again, what angle is square root of 3 over 2? Well, that's going to equal a 30 degrees. Okay, now obviously you can go through the restrictions and everything like that, but that's kind of a whole bunch of extra stuff from there. From on there. Yeah, I was wanting to do the giveaways. I'm right now. I am like so overwhelmed at the moment. So I just don't have the time at the moment. So I'm gonna try to get those back for on there. Like, but even the live streams and everything else, I just had to chalk up the loss because my time right now is just being kind of taken in. So I'm hoping to bring those back in, but yeah, I haven't advertised any of the giveaways at the moment, or even the live streams, just because it's been something that I'm not getting what I need to get done, for the channel and a lot of my videos. So so it's not something that's gone, but it's not something I'm going to be, doing away from right now. Hey, virtuality. All right, so hopefully that was helpful. Abby again, please go over inverse trig functions. I did, Abby. Hopefully that was helpful. Ooh, Abby sent in a question. All right. I mean, you're going to need a calculator. You just use your calculator for that. Just remember that the inverse of cosecant, Abby, is going to be your cosine, your sine in that regard. So, you're just going to use a calculator for on that. There's not more explanation, I guess, I can really help you with. But yeah, just use your calculator. You're just going to want to use the sine function for on that. All right. But Abby, if you're on the chat, you can definitely go and ask from there. I'm in Algebra 2, and our teacher missed 4 days and kept the... Oh, let me take this up. Oh, okay. Well, now, okay, never mind. I don't really got to read that. I just got to look at what your student wanted me to go through all of this stuff, which is probably not going to be able to happen. Yeah, so anyways, if you need questions, Liam, please be very, very specific. with your questions. That will allow me to be able to get to your question help like quickly. But just sending me whole math problems is not really going to be able to get to a lot of them. Or I just don't even know what to like talk about when you give me a whole questions. When do you think you'll be back on track with the giveaways, and will you take up previous giveaways? I'm not. What do you mean take up the previous giveaways? I think I've satisfied everybody that had a giveaway from on there. But yeah, I don't have a time frame. We'll just kind of see how everything kind of plays out. I do have some other things I'm looking into doing and testing and planning from there. It's from on there. So that's I don't have any time frame or anything solid at this moment. I'm struggling with the question. How many different 2-digit numbers are there in base 4? I don't know. I'd have to think a little bit more difficult on that one, not on the live stream. And not a question. You watch your videos about topics. Well, thank you very much, Roos. Roos, I believe that's your name. Oh, it's 10 o'clock. Let's see this. I need math help. Problem number 12, please. All right, let's see what I can do for you. Okay, no worries, Abby. I just want to make sure that your question was answered because I know you sent like a whole bunch, so I want to make sure you had that. Okay, finally we got something specific on there. But yeah, Abby, you're just going to want to use the inverse sine from that, and then just do 1 over sine inverse to calculate. Okay. All right. Now let's go and get to a math one, finally. So I think the student was this is just a condensing one, right? I read. Yeah, so it's condensed. Okay, so just like anything else, guys, we got to know our rules of logarithms, and then obviously we got to condense inside the parabola, or I'm sorry, inside the brackets here first. So when I do that, what I'm going to have here is a ln of x plus 2 times x minus 2. So I'll go ahead and write that up, x plus 2 times an x minus 2. Now I can definitely go ahead and simplify that, right, to an x squared minus 4. So let's go ahead and do that. And so let's just do that one at a time. 2. So therefore, now I'm going to do this as an ln of a quantity x squared minus 4. Now, I don't really need the brackets, right, because this is really just 2 times this. So I can kind of get rid of that. And then I want you to recognize here, by getting rid of that, we also open up our ideas. Remember, another rule of exponents is when we have a number in front, we can always rewrite that as a power. So now I have an ln of x minus a ln of x squared minus 4, quantity squared, right? And then notice I have the difference here of 2 logarithms, which I can rewrite as a rational expression. So ln of a x over quantity x squared minus 4, quantity squared. Do you see any benefit in math problems? Yeah, I see a lot of benefit in math problems. Thinking through the problems and is thinking through the problems and being able to set up the problem and do work that I think it's very, very helpful. And also with your analytical thinking, what makes you despise word problems? Well, a lot of word problems are just designed to, as I think Ryan created, not a lot of them really make sense, or they're not worded really correctly, or a lot of people don't have the same access or experiences to convey like the knowledge that needs to be understood for the word problem. So they can be confusing, but they can also be very beneficial of learning how to dissect and work through a word problem. So there's a little bit of love and hate relationship. I don't do a lot of word problems on the live streams just because it takes a really long time for me to explain and like digest the information before I can actually teach everything. All right. We need to graph this, but we don't know how to solve for x. Please help my boy. Okay. I did answer this. Have you ever thought about teaching personal finance? Yeah, actually, I used to teach some things on. I used to teach some when I did into like exponential functions, I taught a lot about the like finance, and kind of like understanding compound interest and blah, blah, blah. But I never got to, like actual personal finance kind of stuff. It was just kind of more like investment strategy and stuff like that. For that one, man, I don't know, what form are you using? We need to graph this, but don't know how to solve for X. Need to graph it, but solve for X. You're very welcome. So you're supposed to grab, but you don't want to solve for X. So that means to go ahead and find the zeros. Well, yeah, I'm not seeing any easy way to be able to solve for zeros. At least I'd have to come back and look at it. I'm not seeing anything easy that I'd be able to kind of cover from that, because that's going to be X. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything easy that you'd be able to do for there. All right. Let's see what else I can answer for you guys. I'm not going to be able to get to all of them. I apologize. I'm really watching a master. You are. Okay, cool. But it's okay. Joke's on me. I've been doing a live stream on Sunday night for the last 116 weeks. So over a year, almost 2 years coming up. Why did I pick 148 or 448? I don't remember 448, what divides into that. So let's go ahead and pick, let's go and play some games. Okay. So I think we just need to simplify these. Now, what we want to do is find the largest square number that evenly divides into that number, right? So let's start picking some square numbers. So we have 4, 9, 16, 25, 36. We have 49. We have 7 times 7, 8 times 8 is 64. That's not how a good 4. We have 64. We have 81. We have 100. We have 121. We have 144. We have 169. We have 193. And we have 225. Okay. So now I got to start thinking of, well, what are going to be the numbers that are going to evenly divide into that? Like, what would be the largest number? What's the largest one of these that evenly divides into that? And I'm getting 64 times 7. So I just randomly picked that because it looked like, I'm like, that kind of seems like that would work. And guess what? That works. That is the largest number that evenly divides into that. So if I have 7, what I can do is rewrite this. So 7 times. Now, if I rewrite 448 as a 64 times a 7. Now, for m to the 5th, you could write that as like m times m times m times m times m, right? You could write that as a m squared times m squared times m squared. But my main goal is I want to write this as the largest, like what is the largest way I could rewrite m to the 5th? Let's actually do this. So I could rewrite this as m to the 5th as m times m times m times m times m, right? I could also rewrite that as a m squared times an m squared times an m. Now, what's even a simpler way? Well, another simple way is we write this as an m squared times m, right? And that's the way I'm going to want to do that. So times an m squared quantity squared. Now, again, we need to get to m to the 5th, though, so we have an m. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'm going to break this up into our squared numbers and our non-squared numbers. So this is a square number, right? I can take the square root of 64, which is 8. This is a square number. I can take the square root of m squared squared, right, which is just going to be m. So I have 7 times a 64 times a m squared squared. Now that's going to be times here a 7m. Now all I did was I just broke these up, and you can do that. That's because the rules of radicals allows us to be able to split up our radicals. Okay, so for instance, if I had square root of 9 times, well, actually, let's just do it. If I had the square root of 36, I could break that up into square root of 9 times 4. So you can do that under the rules of radicals, and you can break that up into the square root of 9 times the square root of 4, which is still going to be a 3 times 2, which is equal to a 6, which we already knew the answer to. Okay, so let's go and take our numbers now. So the square root of 64 is going to be an 8. The square root of m squared squared is going to be an m squared. And we cannot simplify the square root of 7m. So my final answer here is going to be a 56 m squared times the square root of 7m. Whew. Yes. Yes, 196. Thank you. All right. Let's see. Do you have any videos on expanding and compressing logs? Yes, I do, Kenneth. Just search up my name, playlist. I have a ton of those videos. Just need to know the easiest way to divide polynomials until I got a test tomorrow. Well, best of luck. I mean, my personal preference is to do long division. If you were just looking for the easiest way to divide any two polynomials. However, synthetic division can be very simple and much more efficient. So, but again, you can only use synthetic division for linear divisors. So make sure you know when you can use synthetic division, when you can use long division. But if you want just like a foolproof way, long division is definitely the way to go. But if you're looking for like speed and efficiency with restrictions, then you're definitely going to want to look at the synthetic division. You are very welcome. All right. Link below. Okay, well, hopefully you something. In the equation above, b is a constant. For what value of b does the equation have no solution? I'd have to work. So 7x is equal to a b. So that means they're going to be equal to each other. All right, so it'd have to be... I'd have to work through that one. I'll maybe come back to that one. Jared, I'd like to get some clarification when you use projection versus resultant for vector formulas. I'm in pre-calc. I mean, usually we're looking for the... I don't know an answer. I'd have to actually go back and look a little bit more for that. But typically, at least from the word problems that I remember, or the problems I remember, we're always looking usually for the projection that's usually explicitly stated. So I'd actually have, I don't think I taught any examples where we had to intuitively know the difference when to use projection versus resultant vectors. So I apologize. I'm not, it's not something actually I covered. It's not something I covered in the pre-calculus. And when I did like teach some projection, we just looked at projection exactly as it was. Like find the projection of the, the vectors. It wasn't anything we had to figure out on our own. And I'm familiar with it, but I'm trying to like bring back some memories, and but it's not something I recall top of hand because it's not something I did a lot with. Hey, thank you, LA Math Tutor. Good to have you on. That's awesome. All right. And also, thank you so much. I'm hoping you have a YouTube channel. Feel free to broadcast it as well. Let other people know. I think that's awesome. I appreciate explaining this for A, B, and C. Let's see what we got. Whoa. Simplify statement restrictions. All right, we'll do one of these. Guys are getting crazy on me. A, B, and C. Come on. What do you think this is? An open live stream? Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can recall is I always, like all the word problems that I did for vectors, we always found the resultant vector, not the projection. So the only time we found the projection was when it was explicitly stated, what is the projection on like this vector on something else. So it was always explicitly stated. So unfortunately, the only experience that I did or used was whenever we were doing word problems, we were always looking for the resultant vector. I would just, differently look at the word problems how it's stated, but we always found we always looked at that, from the resultant vector rather than the projection, unless it was explicitly stated. Or A or B is good, sir. Okay. Let's do B. That little one looks good. So I think the main thing, I'll do A and B. Why don't we just do 2, right? Okay. So A plus 4 over A squared plus 3A minus 4. Okay, so the main thing we want to do is simplify, simplify, simplify. And then we got to state our restrictions. So we can't really do anything in our numerator. Denominator, though, I can break that up. And again, like FYI, it's not always the case, but a lot of times it's helpful, guys. When this is factored form, is going to include this A plus 4. It's not always true, but a lot of times it is, right? And that is actually the truth. That is going to work here. That's going to be an A, plus 4 times an A minus 1. That's the factored form, right? What two numbers multiply to give you -4, add to give you a +3. +4, -1. Now, here's the important thing. First thing I want to do is label the restrictions. So here's the restrictions, but A cannot equal a -4 and a +1. Why? Why can A not equal -4 and +1? Because that's going to make the denominator equal to 0, right? So those are your restrictions. Now, here's the cool thing. You can put parentheses around this if you want. That divides out, right? Division property. Anything in the numerator and denominator that's exactly the same, separated by multiplication, which this is, you can divide them out. So my simplified answer is a 1 over A minus 1. However, I still have to keep both restrictions because this is just a simplified answer, right? You still have your restrictions from your original problem. Okay, and then B, good job, Patrick. Congrats. It's awesome. It's a good feeling. So in this one, we just got to, again, do the same. So x squared minus 9 over a 15 minus 5x. Okay, what I'd do first here is I would rewrite this as a -5x plus 15. And then I'd rewrite it again. So an x squared minus 9 over, I'd factor out the negative. So therefore, this is a 5x minus 15. Okay, so now I notice I can factor out a 5 here, right? So I'm just working this slowly for you. I can factor out the numerator. That's the difference of 2 squares. X plus 3. And then here I can factor out a 5. So that's a -5 times an x minus 3. And hey, stop. Before I do that, let's go and find the restrictions. X cannot equal a +3. And that's it. Don't say -5. 3 is the only number that's going to make my denominator equal 0, right? So x cannot equal 3. Now that can divide out. So therefore, my final answer is going to be a x plus 3 divided by -5, where x cannot equal a 3. There you go. Hopefully, sorry, that was helpful for you. All right, 4 more questions. I'll see if I can do it. It's late. I'm tired. Or so you could explain graphing logs and do a few examples. Yeah, I'm going to have a video coming up on this as well. But, I mean, the main thing, I'm just going to go over the basic. I don't know what you need help with on these. But when you're trying to graph logs, I think the main thing that you need to know is, like, what does the general graph look like? If I have log base b of x, like, what does this graph look like? So here's what you need to know. This graph looks something like that. Has an x-intercept of y, 0. It has a vertical asymptote here, right here. Okay. So the domain is obviously going to be from 0 to infinity, and the range is going to be from -infinity to +infinity. Okay. Now you also need to know the transformations. So y equals, let's see, an a times a log. Let's just call this a. I don't want to do b of x. What do they usually? Oh, let's just use ln of x. That'll be easy. Use base e. Okay, so we have ln of a bx minus c plus d, right? So we just need to know our transformation, just like anything else. Make sure you know you can transform the graph left and right, up or down, and know your reflections, right? Reflections up and down, and reflections left and right. So let's do, you said you wanted some examples, so let's do 2 examples. So if I did a 3 ln of x minus 3, let's do this. negative 3 ln of x plus 1. How about that? Okay, so here we have a reflection about the x-axis. We have a vertical stretch of 3, and then the graph is being shifted 1 unit to left. So taking this graph, moving it 1 unit to left, right? So there's an asymptote now, got moved 1 unit to left. And then the graph is being stretched vertically as a factor of 3, but then also it's being reflected, right? So I'm not really particular on what the stretch, how much it's going to be, but it's more important for you to know that it has a negative reflection here. And let's do another one. What if I had 1/2? In this case, let's do an ln of a negative x plus 2. Okay, so now we're going to do the exact same thing. But now notice we have a reflection about the x-axis, or the y-axis, I'm sorry. So instead of the graph being like this, it's reflecting about the y-axis, and then it's being shifted up 2 units. So being up there and then up 2 units. No stretch or compression, so it's going to look like the parent graph. And then the asymptote is going to remain the same, right? Because if you reflect that asymptote, or reflect that about the y-axis, it's on the asymptote is going to remain the same there, but the graph is going to be shifted up 2. So when you're dealing with your transformations, it's always best to deal with the transformations from this y-intercept that we have. Awesome. Good for you. That's awesome. So happy for you. All right. I guess I should start doing my questions a little earlier from you guys. Make a long live stream. All right. How can you make an equation of a chord of a circle? I'd have to look at that. There you go. I'm not sure how to solve this problem without fully expanding the equation and manually finding it. Sounds like busy. Find the coefficient. So okay, so find the coefficient of this problem. So what we need to do is we have 5, 10. So if we know Pascal's triangle, so 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 3, 3, 1, 1, 4, 6, 4, 1. Let's see, that's squared, cubed, 4. And then we need it to the 5th power. So 1, 5, 10, 5. I'm sorry, that's 10, 5, 1. Okay. All right, so now we're looking at, well, what is going to be, find the coefficient of the 5th term. So it's important for us to know, like, on the 5th term, like, when a is cubed, that's going to be a 3a to the 5th power, right? And that's going to be b to the 0. Then we have plus a 3a to the 4th power, b to the 1st. And then the third one is going to be 3a, to the 4th power. Something's wrong here. That's to the 5. That's 0. 4, 1. Oh, that's 3. 2, right? Yeah. And that'd be 3, and that's b squared. So that is going to be the third term. So the third term in, right? So that's 1, 10, or I'm sorry, 1, 5, 10. So now we just need to do 3 cubed, which is 27, times 10, which is 270, a cubed b squared. So the answer is 270. All right. All right, guys, I think this is, the last one I'm going to be in. The answer to my question was 120, the answer to my question was 112 feet, pi feet squared. Okay, is that what I got? Thank you so much, Cami. I guess it wouldn't matter, right? Let's see what I did. 252 divided by 2.25. Yeah, all right, cool. I guess I was pi feet squared. Oh, yeah, I guess. Yeah, so whenever you're dealing with surface area, you're not going to look at the scale factor. So to find the scale factor to go from 2 to 5, right? Sorry, 2 to 3. What I did was a 3 divided by 2 equals a 1.5. So that was equal to my R. That was equal to my scale factor, okay? However, when you're dealing with like perimeter or like length, then you use R. When you're dealing with area, you're going to use R squared. And when you're dealing with volume, you're going to do with R cubed. So what I did is I took 1.5 squared, which is 2.25. And then to find this, to find my volume, all I did was a 252 divided by my R squared, 2.25, which is 112 pi. And that's how I got the 112. So hopefully that was helpful for you. Well, that's how I got that answer. But I wasn't sure, so I'm glad you had the answer for me so I could verify that. Okay. Yeah, I'll have to go back and look at that question. Unfortunately, sorry about that. And I help you with that question. Abby, sweet. Helped you with that one. I think becoming a mathematician when I grow up. Well, awesome. Do it. Review sheets. You guys are crazy. Appreciate that, but it's kind of hard to do a whole review for you guys. Okay, yeah, these are all the questions I looked at from on there. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you so much for all of your questions and hanging out with me on a Sunday night. Oh, that's kind of cool. All right, guys. I will see you, though, next week. Cheers.